Okay, in this section we're going to talk about closing entries, and it says we're going to debit each temporary account with a credit balance such as sales for its balance and credit the income summary. So the process is actually the same for a service business and for retail business, but it does get a little more complicated because we've got sales has a credit balance, sales returns and allowance has a debit balance, so it's almost like an expense, and even though it's really just a reduction in our sales, but we are going to debit each one of our temporary accounts that has a credit balance, and then credit each one of our accounts that has a debit balance, and debit the income summary, just like we did in the service business. And this shows your first entry. It says credit each temporary. Whoops, let me go back. I think I missed just a little on here. Yeah, this shows our first entry. We're going to debit the sales, $720,185, and debit the rent revenue for $600, and then credit the income summary, $720,785. And then our second entry, we're going to debit. We're going to credit each one of our temporary accounts that has a debit balance, and credit the income summary. So it's going to be basically the same thing as the other one. If we debit the income summary, $645,395, we know the company made money because in the income summary we had $720,000. This one has $645,000, so they made about $55,000 or $75,000. I'm sorry, but they debit some things that we wouldn't normally think about: sales returns and allowances, because it has a debit balance. So we credit it now for $61.40. Credit the sales discounts, $57.90. Credit the cost of goods sold, $525,305. And then the rest of it looks like our normal closing entry for a service business. We're just crediting each one of our expenses: sales, salaries, advertising expense, depreciation expense, delivery expense, merchant miscellaneous selling expenses, office salaries expense, rent expense, depreciation expense for the office equipment, insurance expense, office supplies expense, miscellaneous administrative expense, and the interest revenue. But our credit in the income summary did exceed our debit in the income summary, so we've got a profit, and this shows the closing entry for that profit, $75,400. So we debit the income summary, $75,400, and then credit Chris Clark Capital, $75,400. And then the last thing we do is we close out the drawing account by debiting the capital. Chris drew $18,000, so we debit the capital $18,000 and credit the drawing account $18,000. So it's pretty similar to our retail business. And this shows the income summary. We had our credit for $720, $785. We had our debit for $645, $385. And that left us a balance of $75.4, and so we debited the $75.4 and credited the capital account, and that closed out our income summary account. Now we're going to take a look at one more example exercise, and this one's on page 274 in your book, and this deals with shrinkage. It says Pulmonary Company's records show that they have $382,800 worth of merchandise on March 31st. However, when they did their physical inventory, it said they had $371,250. So we had a shortfall of what? It looks like $11,550. I think that's right. But let's take a look and see. Yep, $11,550. So we debit Pulmonary Corporation would debit their merchandise sold, $11,550, and credit the merchandise inventory, $11,550. And that concludes this chapter. There are a couple of appendixes at the end of this chapter. Appendix 1 deals with accounting systems for merchandisers, and then Appendix 2 actually deals with a periodic inventory system. You do need to read through those and study them so you'll get a better understanding of both of those, the material covered in both of those appendixes. But this does end the chapter, and I don't normally go over the material in the appendixes, but I do encourage you to study it. I think it will help you get a better understanding of the material covered in the chapter. But this concludes this lecture, and this is my final lecture for this course. And I hope you've enjoyed the course. I hope you've learned a lot, and I hope you'll continue to learn about accounting. I've been doing accounting for well over 30 years, and I still learn things most days. So thank you, and have a great day.